Picture the last time you walked into a room and immediately started scanning it. Not for anything specific, just scanning. Reading faces, checking exits, mentally cataloging who looks comfortable and who doesn't. You might have written that off as being observant or cautious or just a little awkward. But what if that instinct wasn't a glitch in your personality? What if it were actually a sign that your brain is running at a higher resolution than most? Anxiety has a reputation problem. We talk about it like it's a weakness, like it's something that needs to be fixed, medicated away, or overcome. And for millions of people, it absolutely does need to be addressed. It can be genuinely debilitating. But before we get to that conversation, I want to offer you a reframe that might completely change the way you see yourself or someone you love. Here's something most people don't know. Anxiety isn't random, it's a system. Your brain has a region called the amygdala, a small, almond-shaped cluster of neurons whose entire job is to detect threats before the rest of you even knows what's happening. In people with anxiety, that system is chronically overactive. It's not broken, it's overzealous. It's like having a smoke detector so sensitive it goes off when you burn toast. The detector is doing exactly what it was built to do. It's just calibrated for a more dangerous world than the one you actually live in. And here's where it gets genuinely fascinating. A study published in the journal Intelligence by researcher Ruth Karpinski and her colleagues at Pitzer College surveyed over 3,700 members of Mensa, people whose IQs sit in the top 2% of the population. What they found stopped a lot of researchers in their tracks. Around 20% of that group reported a diagnosed anxiety disorder, compared to roughly 10% in the general population. Twice the rate. The researchers proposed something they called the hyperbrain/hyperbody theory. The idea that a highly active, deeply analytical mind is also a more reactive one. One that processes more, notices more, and therefore worries more. The very cognitive engine that drives creativity, empathy, and deep thinking also turns everyday uncertainty into a 5-alarm fire. So what does that mean for you? It means anxiety is not the opposite of intelligence or strength. In a lot of cases, it's a byproduct of them. Research on anxiety and empathy consistently shows that people with higher anxiety tend to be more attuned to the emotional states of others, better at reading the room, faster at detecting tension, more likely to pick up on what isn't being said. That same research also shows that anxious individuals have a heightened attentional bias toward threat cues, which sounds clinical, but what it really means is this. You notice things other people miss. That's nothing. That's actually quite a gift when it isn't slowly consuming you from the inside. But here's the identity piece that I think is the real heart of this, and it's one that most conversations about anxiety completely skip over. A lot of people with anxiety don't just have anxiety, they become it. Somewhere along the way, maybe after one panic attack or one embarrassing moment or just years of chronic low-level dread, the story shifted. It stopped being, "I feel anxious sometimes," and became, "I am an anxious person." And that distinction is enormous. Because the moment you attach anxiety to your identity, every strategy you try is working against the weight of who you believe you are. You can learn all the breathing techniques in the world, but if your baseline belief is "I am broken" or "I am fragile," the anxiety will keep finding a way back in. The shift isn't about pretending the anxiety isn't real. It is real. The physical symptoms are real. The racing thoughts are real. But the identity underneath it, that's constructed, and that means it can be reconstructed. You are not a person who is anxious. You are a person with a highly sensitive nervous system that has learned, for very understandable reasons, to predict danger in order to stay safe. So, here's the practical thing I want you to try. It's simple, and it works. Not because it eliminates the anxiety, but because it changes your relationship to it. The next time you feel that familiar tightening in your chest or that spiral starting in your mind, don't fight it and don't catastrophize it. Just name it, out loud or in your head. It doesn't matter. Say, "There's anxiety here. My brain is trying to protect me." That single act of labeling, which neuroscientists call affect labeling, has been shown to reduce amygdala activation. You're not surrendering to the feeling. You're just not going to war with it either. You're observing it like a scientist observing the weather. Anxiety doesn't make you weak. It makes you alert. The question is whether you're alert to actual danger or whether you've handed your nervous system's car keys to a version of you that's still trying to survive something that already ended. So let me ask you this, and I mean it as a real question, not a rhetorical one. What would change for you if you stopped treating your anxiety as the enemy and started getting curious about what it's actually trying to tell you? Drop your answer in the comments. I read them, and I think this conversation is worth having.